So I want to talk about trust today. And recently I thought about how much suffering is created when we don't have trust. Look at what's going on in the world. Regardless of the events that have happened in the past few days, it's hard to trust what's going on in our world. Every news cycle brings a new surprise, and in global news as well, things are getting pretty frenetic. And it's an election year. I don't need to talk further about how crazy that gets. So suffice it to say that it's sometimes hard to trust that everything is going to be okay. And it's even harder to think that everything is going to be magnificent, isn't it? So as a result, much time is wasted on the opposite of trust: fear, worry, uncertainty, doubt, negativity, anxiety, negative emotions. But why don't we trust completely if we know that lack of trust isn't good for us? Maybe it has something to do with control. I remember being in a choir in Santa Cruz where I would make the journey over the hill every weekend, and my friend was driving, and whenever she was driving, I would get a little car sick, and up at the top of the hill, I would say, okay, at the summit, let's trade. And when I was behind the wheel, I was no longer getting car sick. Can anybody relate to that? Almost everyone. So what is that? Is it that now I trust and can control where I'm going, whereas with this other person driving, I couldn't? There's something in that that's a mental game for us. And sometimes I call it free-floating anxiety. There's this free-floating anxiety that's looking to attach itself onto the next thing. And even when there isn't something, maybe there was something that was bothering you, and it's gone, and that free-floating anxiety will find a new home for something, right, to be anxious about. Sometimes it's just a habit of our biology. It's a habit of our biology that I think can be undone. And if you've listened to Joe Dispenza, he talks a lot about undoing biological habits, and Bruce Lipton as well. So after all, anxiety and lack of trust, they did have a purpose for us. They did help us survive. They helped us not to do silly things and go too close to the edge of the cliff. They helped us worry about things that were important for survival. But that reptilian brain, that it doesn't serve us when we go into most of the situations in life where we don't need all the lack of trust. So I think we can turn this around. And there's this perpetual hypervigilance. Some people call it doom scrolling, right? You're scrolling through your phone, doom scrolling. Because you're hypervigilant in terms of what's coming next. What is coming next? And looking to the outside world then is not a good place for reassurance. You're not going to get reassurance from the news or necessarily Facebook. You're not going to get reassurance there because negativity sells clicks. It sells advertising. So, despite the worries of the world situation, I notice that most of the things that we worry about and have a lack of trust in are in our local orbit. They're related to our friends and our family and our finances and things that are going on in our worlds. And I say that probably 99% of all the things that we worry about resolve themselves, heal themselves, and that we don't benefit these situations with our lack of trust. So we need to develop more trust, because I say that more trust equals more happiness, right? The more trust you have, the more you know you're not alone. The more trust you have, the safer you feel. The more trust you have, the more you have an anchor for your boat. The more trust you have, the less anxiety and fear you have, and the less self-doubt that you have. So what if we trusted more beginning today? Beginning today. A friend of mine once told me, I was in doubt about something, and she said, David, aren't you all in for God? Aren't you all in for God? Because God is all in for you. And that kind of was a stopping point for me. That was total trust. God is all in for you, so why aren't you all in for God? And to me, that meant trusting the universe, trusting my journey, trusting my present and my future, and just trusting that God is showing up right now in a big way in my life. Not tomorrow, today. A spiritual author named Kurt Blackson had a few interesting things to say about trust. He said, are you willing to trust bigger than yourself? Because when you do, this is the Gandhi zone, this is the Jesus zone, and letting go of control is miraculous, because when you do, miracles will unfold. Let go of control and let miracles unfold. And it's a level of consciousness, he says, that miracle makers of the world are living today. They live in trust. He goes on to say, what life can do through you is way more powerful than anything you can do simply on your own when you trust the universe. So a great example of spiritual trust comes from the halls of 12-step programs. They know trust and they know surrender. The whole program, for those of you that may know, relies on trust and surrender. It relies upon you naming and getting acquainted with that higher power, whatever you may call it. And it's interesting, just reading a couple of the steps. Step 3, we made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him or her, and that's trust. Step 5, we admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs, and this requires trust and vulnerability. Steps 6 and 7, we were entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. We humbly asked the God of our understanding to remove our shortcomings, and this requires trust. And I just thought it was interesting. Step 8, we sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him. This is actually the 4th principle of unity. I'm going to talk about this in a future talk. And step 9, having had the spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to others to practice these principles in all of our affairs. That just happens to be the 5th principle of unity. I love that. I love it when these different systems just come into agreement. So trust and surrender are paramount. But we can't trust into nothingness, right? It helps when we trust into something. And this brings to mind a book called Falling into the Arms of God by Megan Dawn. And in that book, she describes the life of Saint Teresa of Avila. She was a 16th century Carmelite nun who at a time when it wasn't cool for women to be leaders and shakers in the movement of Carmelite nuns and advancing that movement and having her own direct mystical experience of God, she did that. She led the process of Christian meditation. She led so many things. I invite you to either look that book up, Falling into the Arms of God, or look up Saint Teresa of Avila. But this concept of falling into the arms of God, you don't need to read the book to benefit a little bit. Falling into the arms of God, that's trust. One of my experiences from childhood about trust was when my dad was teaching me how to ride a bike. And as he was teaching me how to ride the bike, I was so scared. But he knew he wasn't going to let me go until the laws of nature took over and until the balance happened and all that. But I didn't know any of that. And we were going faster and faster, and he was pushing me. And I said, "Dad, have you got me?" And he said, you've been riding all alone. I'm running behind you. I'm running next to you. And I was so excited that I had been riding the bike all along, and he was just there guiding me. I was doing it. But that trust that I had in my dad, it was so strong. And he taught me how to trust the universe, right? He's the one who taught me how to pray. He would kneel at my bedside every day. He taught me how to trust. And so the same way that my dad had me, God's got you. God's carrying you. An interesting thing, though, in our lives, we tend to practice quite often conditional trust. Now, there are situations where you should practice conditional trust, but think about this. What if we looked at all the situations in our life and asked ourselves, where am I practicing conditional trust? I will trust if, I will trust if, and I will trust if I see these signs, and I will trust if they treat me this way. How about unconditional trust? Unconditional trust. And trusting regardless of having certainty. Trusting when there's no certainty. Along this line, there's a book by Bob Bresney called Pronoia. Anybody ever heard of it? And what it's about is, instead of practicing paranoia, practice pronoia, meaning instead of saying, oh my God, something awful is going to happen, say, oh my God, something wonderful is about to happen. Oh my God, something wonderful is about to happen. What if that were our automatic response? Instead of paranoia, it was pronoia. It's a really thick book, so I just saved you some time there. Albert Einstein was asked, what's the most important question? What is the most important question to him? And he said, is the world a friendly place? Is the world a friendly place? And to me, that means, can you trust the world? Your point of view on that answer will change your life. Is the world a friendly place, or is the world a hostile place? So what if we try out trust as a spiritual practice? What if we try that out? And think about the areas where you're ready to trust more. In what areas are you ready to say to the universe, hey, everything is in divine and perfect order in this aspect of my life. Guidance will be given. I trust you, universe. I do. One way of doing that, of building trust into spiritual practice, is with affirmations. And I'm just going to go for it and try a few affirmations with you. I will say it, and then I want you to say it back with me. So the first one is, everything is always working out for me. Everything is always working out for me. I love that one. That's from Esther Hicks. Next one. I trust that the universe is conspiring for my greatest good. I trust that the universe is conspiring for my greatest good, and for the greatest good of all. And for the greatest good of all. I trust that there is only one power. I trust that there is only one power operating as my magnificent life. I trust that God is all in for me. So I'm all in for God. Everything is always working out for me. Great job. Very funny. Very funny. Very funny. So we can also make trust a part of our spiritual practice with prayer. And we'll talk about prayer more later, but I think when you pray, think of God first. Just think of God in the way that we say it each Sunday. There's only one presence and power. There's only one presence and one power. But think of connecting with that. Really, really real. God is all there is. God is all there is. There's your blanket. There's your net. There's your falling into the arms of God. And if you do nothing more when you pray, then fall into the arms of God and know that it's all in God. Then you've got it. And then I noticed that at the end of every service we say, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. Wherever I am, God is. And all is well. Thank you, God. All of that is a trust affirmation. All of that is a trust affirmation. You're saying statements of truth, as Charles Fillmore would say. And so that is beautiful. So I end with this. There's a song by Ricky Byers, formerly Ricky Byers Beckwith, that embodies this concept of trust and surrender completely. And we're going to sing it together with Michael during the offering song. I just want us to think about these lyrics for just a moment. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith, I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. So I release and I let go. So we're going to sing that together. That too is a trust affirmation. So I'm going to complete this talk with a prayer. Let's go within for a moment. And if Michael, if you could help me out a little bit. Let's just connect right now. Just feeling that safety net. Taking a deep breath. Knowing that there's only one. The God of your understanding has never left your side. Knowing that God is all in for you. So I'm all in for God because God is all in for me. And when I doubt, when I don't think I can do it, I just remember that on this bicycle in the universe that God's got me. God's got me. And God only sees the highest version of me at all times. So I trust into God. It appears to me in many forms. It appears to me in the transactions I have every day. It appears to me in the people I speak with. It appears to me in the problems of life as gifts. And it appears to me as me right now. So once again, we've chosen to be on this planet in this specific place and time. In this specific election cycle, we've chosen to be on this planet and in this sanctuary of Unity Spiritual Center on purpose, and in trust. So I let go, I let God, and I say, and so it is. Amen. And if we could have the platform assistant come forth.
Thank you, Reverend David, for that beautiful lesson. It's very powerful. And I wanted to thank everyone in the congregation, on the board. When we were setting out to find a new minister, we did nothing but trust and affirmation through our board, and then putting all the trust in the hands of the congregation to be able to take the time to listen to all of you. And never a moment did we say, this isn't going to happen to get what we're looking for. And with all of that positivity, we had David flow through our doors. So thank you for everyone's trust in us.
We have a little Karen Drucker tune to learn here. Let go of the soul and let the water carry you. Let go of the soul. Float into the mystery. Let go of the soul and let the water carry you. Let go of the soul. Float into the mystery. You have all you need. It's all inside of you. Just close your eyes and breathe and know that you are safe. Let go of the shore and let the water carry you. Let go of the shore. Float into the mystery. Sing it with me. Let go of the shore and let the water carry you. Let go of the shore. Float into the mystery. No need to make a plan. Your heart will be your compass. Let your sails in faith and trust you will arrive. Let go of the shore and let the water carry you. Let go of the shore. Float into the mystery. Let go of the shore and let the water carry you. Let go of the shore. Float into the mystery. Come on now. Let go of the shore and let the water carry you. Let go of the shore. Float into the mystery. Let go, let go, let go, let go, let go.